Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Legal Lunch Byte, episode 10. Today, I will be chatting with my colleague, Arlo Kipfer, a colleague of mine at Harris Sliwoski. Arlo, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Fred. It's good to be here.
And before we get things started with the topic for today, which is internet fraud, could you take a minute to introduce yourself?
Sure. As you said, my name is Arlo Kipfer. I am an attorney. How I got into this topic was I lived and worked in China and in Asia, Greater Asia, for 16 years, and a lot of this particular scam, the scammers come out of mainland China, and so my research and my work led me into doing due diligence investigations when I first started encountering clients who had this problem.
Excellent. And I'm sure many of us have horror stories about the topic, whether because of things we experienced personally or because of things that those we know experienced. But I think there is something particularly dramatic about seeing it happen to someone that you really thought wouldn't fall for these scams, right? Because we read about them,
Right.
and then we hear about people that in theory should have known better, but when it happens to someone that you know for a fact should have known better, then it's all the more impactful. So we're hearing this term, pig butchering scam, different variations. It's becoming quite mainstream, although for us who work in the China space, we got advance notice perhaps of this terminology. But what's this pig butchering thing?
Yeah, so it's this particular version of an online romance scam is kind of what happened. And I think ever since the World Wide Web has come into existence and there were dating sites and things, there was always a version of this out there. But this particular version, called the pig butchering scam, what it is, it's been very effective in being able to ensnare victims and really take them for all they were worth. Which makes it unusual. It's not just like $1,000 here or $5,000. It's pretty insidious and clever. It plays on the psychological tendencies of human beings to trust others. And so essentially what the scam is it starts out, and it's called pig butchering scam is because the goal is to fatten up the pig, which means send all the money. And at some point, whenever the person has no more money or they figure out it's a scam, then just to cut it off all the communication. And the scammers generally find victims and reach out by, as I said, through a dating app. Now it's quite common for people to use dating apps to find a significant other. They'll reach out through LinkedIn. Maybe they build a LinkedIn profile that poses them as a young professional seeking a mentor, and they look for someone in their field. Maybe someone who's a senior executive or a recent retiree says, "Oh, I'd love to put my skills to use and mentor this person." Or maybe the innocuous text message, which I'm sure we've all received, that says hello, or as I got last Thursday, it says, "Hello, is this Miss Anna? Is the bag I ordered now in stock? I have time tomorrow. I can come and get it." And so they make these initial contacts, and with these phone messages, they just looking for someone to engage. And humans most people tend to be nice, and they say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are," or "I'm not Anna." And once they engage, the scammers will, build a relationship, something like, "Oh, you're so nice," or and then in the context of LinkedIn or on an online dating app, they will start having a little banter. It's all very playful. And at some point, they say, "Hey, let's take this conversation to WhatsApp." Typically WhatsApp. It could be Line or something else, but normally it's WhatsApp. And probably because it's harder to trace where the conversation is coming from. And then they build a relationship, and they will build, usually it's romantic, but sometimes it's just platonic. They build a relationship. They talk about they'll have a conversation about what they're eating, what they're wearing. They'll send pictures of themselves. Not surprisingly, they're usually very attractive people, and most people can't believe it. They got so lucky, and it hits males and females. They have people posing as Asian men or Asian women or European men or Russian men or Russian women. And They just build this conversation, and at some point, and they're patient. These scammers are quite patient. Sometimes they'll wait a month, and we're talking like dozens of text messages a day for a month. At some point, they mention some investment they're making. Maybe it's foreign exchange trading, or maybe cryptocurrency exchange trading, and they just kind of casually mention it, that they're doing it to see if their interest. And many people want to get richer than they are now, have more money, and they think, wow, this is my opportunity. Maybe I missed out on the big crypto boom, or I heard you can make money on Forex, but I didn't know how. Or this surprised me a bit. There's sophisticated Forex traders and cryptocurrency traders that get ensnared by this. They are like, wow, this is an edge. They understand the market. And ultimately what they do is by just kind of mentioning it, and then there's an interest, it almost looks like the victim is the one that's kind of asking to get in on the action. So it's a very good psychological ploy. You don't feel like you're being pushed on something, pushed to do something. And then at some point they say, well, if you want to get on it, I have usually it's an auntie or an uncle that's connected somewhere that has some information about some big trades. And if you want to throw a little money in on it, you could make some money together. And the victims usually say, that sounds like a great idea. And so there's usually two versions of this. One is I open account at Coinbase or some crypto legitimate exchange, and then send that cryptocurrency to some other cryptocurrency exchange where you can make these so-called trades. Or you wire money somewhere to a bank account, and that money shows up in your client software on the Forex site. And they usually use MetaTrader 4 or MetaTrader 5, which is a legitimate software. And the scammers build a fake exchange website, but use legitimate software. So the users can go to Apple Store or Android Store and download MetaTrader 5, or get it off the line, which is a legitimate app. And they can plug into this fake website, and it all looks very legitimate, and make their trades. They see, of course, it's being manipulated by the scammers on the back end, whether it's crypto or whether it's Forex software. And the scammers say, okay, now you need to trade right now. And they make their trade with their $500 or $1,000 initial thing. And they get that $1,000 turns into like $12,000 immediately. And then they do a few trades like that, experiencing big gains. And then the scammer usually says, hey, why don't you send some more money? You can make a lot more money. And that starts a series of progressions where they send more and more and more money. Pretty soon people are sending $100,000. They're cashing out their 401ks. They are borrowing money from families. They're taking second mortgages. And of course, they're seeing enormous gains. These are people who maybe his net worth isn't that much, but they have like $5 or $6 million showing in their account. Inevitably, they want to cash out, of course. And sometimes the scammers, they're quite good. They'll let you take like a $500 out just to show that you can, or $1,000, or maybe even $10,000 if you've been sending big amounts over. And that gets your confidence, so you continue the game. And ultimately, at some point, most people get enough. They're like, wow, I'm set for life with this money. I want to cash out. And at that point, they find out that the scammers have a whole whole bunch of scripts they use. They say, oh, you have to pay capital gains tax, so send some more in. Or your account's been frozen for money laundering. You need to send some more in to show that it's not money laundering. Or maybe they manipulate the exchange to show a massive loss, so you lost everything, and maybe you're in the hole and you need to send more money. So that's basically what the scam goes. And until the person says, I don't have any more money to send, then the end of the line goes silent, and the pig has been butchered.
Yeah, certainly we wouldn't, no one would want to be at the end of that line. So basically this is a particular type of scam, but like you said, this is ever since the internet came into existence, there have been internet scams, and even before that there were scams of other sorts,
right?
But this one obviously has some particularities. Maybe many questions that I have, but maybe let's start with this. What is one very egregious example of losses that you've heard about, or one or two examples of situations where someone has, someone that you've spoken to during the course of your work, perhaps. What are some of those most shocking examples of someone falling to either the pig butchering scam or some other form of internet fraud?
It's a good question. Well, I mean, I'm just thinking of so many cases. I've had people who worked on Wall Street for 20 years, who should know how markets work, fall for it. I've had people who build a successful empire, fantastically rich, smart businessmen. Um, it's the people with PhDs, attorneys. Attorney lost $5 million. There's just many. I hesitate to go into too much specifics because of the people involved, but the reality is um, it doesn't necessarily. It's not like people that are doing it don't have any education or they're dumb. I mean, there are people that don't have a lot. That's people call me and they've lost $5,000 and they want to see what they can do to recover their $5,000. And we've had people who've lost 5.5 million or $6 million, and just, I mean, I think the one that's most tragic for me was this a lady who was just a few months from retirement, and she sent everything she had. She had a like a second mortgage line of credit that she hadn't used for like 20 years. She sent all of that, cashed out everything, and then one of the worst things too is when this happens and when she finally had no money left, then the scammers went silent, and then she found out that the next year she's gonna have to pay capital gains tax on all the money, all the investments she sold. So not only does she have no money, now she has this huge tax bill from the IRS because she sold her investments early and withdrew her 401k early, and it's just devastating. And these people, it's hard to take some of these calls that we get on this. Yeah.
One of the most dramatic cases that I dealt with involved a well-known company, and what had happened was one of the officers, let's say the CFO, perhaps, had received an email from someone claiming to be her boss and asking, you know, I need this information right away. How much money do we have in our current account? And again, psychology. She gets caught in that dynamic. Like, well, maybe that's the way she and her boss communicate. Like, he has these rapid fire questions, wants to move things quickly, and then basically what she was told was, there's this big transaction, has to be kept quiet. We can't let this become public. So what I need you to do is very quietly send X amount of money, almost $1 million, to this account. And she did. And of course, it must have been a very awkward conversation with the boss a little bit later. Like, listen, I did what you wanted me to do. And he's like, what are you talking about? She lost her job as a result of that. And but if you look, and when I was looking at the emails, I was thinking this wasn't that difficult to set up, right? I mean, it wasn't that difficult to figure out that this was a shady email address from this one.
Right.
So very sad to see that, right? The both in terms of how the amount of the losses, but also how easily preventable this would be in some cases. Obviously, crypto has played a big role in all this, right? I mean, that has certainly added a new twist to things. Is that right?
Yeah, crypto has, for sure. It's facilitated, it's easier, and it's been harder to track. In some ways, harder to track than bank wire transfers. In some way easier because the blockchain is public, but some way harder. I think, Fred, one of the things that I wanted to cover is, what you can do if this happens to you. And first of all, I encourage everybody to spread awareness about this. My own goal, and I think a lot of us that understand and want to fight against this, the goal is to make this so well known that it's like the Nigerian prince, wants to get his gold out of Nigeria scam that happened in the mid 90s, or whenever the internet became along. At the time, people were fooled by it. Now nobody would even give that email a second glance. Right. And so when we get these inaccurate text messages, or a dating app person seems too good to be true, it wants us to flip over to WhatsApp, that we know it's a scam. But the big thing is to file. I encourage everyone who this happened to file an IC3 complaint with the FBI. This is an internet Crime Complaint Center. Contact law enforcement, whether it's your state attorney general or local law enforcement. Then if you want, and what people can do is hire attorneys, and what we do is we try to use the legal system to freeze accounts, or whether the crypto wallets or bank accounts where the money has been sent to see if there's still balances in there. And the scammers have been known to be sloppy and leave money in, and we have frozen accounts for clients before and try to get that back using the legal system. So but yeah, spreading awareness is the big thing that I really want people to do.
That's a great way to bring this to an end, with on a more positive note, and also helping, like you said. I think that encapsulates it perfectly. We want people's awareness to get to the point where you just know right away that this is something that there's no question, right?
Right.
That this is fake. So with that, this went by. Time flew today, because it was a good conversation. So thank you, Arlo, for joining us, and for everyone else. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Legal Lunch Byte. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.